What's up, Silver and Black Nation? It's the BatFrie, Kenny Fry, and I'm back. So coming up on today's show, I'll be talking a little bit of Raiders stuff. There's not a whole lot to talk about because there hasn't been a whole lot of movement. So we'll talk a little bit about the Raiders and some rumors that I've been hearing and this, that, and the other. And also, I have a lot to catch up on the Kings. Some past games I have notes written down. I'm coming back from a sickness and an illness. So I have old notes and I have new notes and stuff like that. So we'll be talking a little bit of Raiders, a lot of Kings, and much, much more coming up on the Silver and Black Lair in about 1 minute. What's up, Silver and Black Nation, and welcome to the Silver and Black Lair. I'm your host, the BatFrie, Kenny Fry, and I'm back. The last few weeks, I have not done the show. I've had a sore throat. I've taken notes for the show, meaning to come on. I just could not talk. I could not make it through the show. I've done the Batcave. I did the Batcave once while I was sick, and it was a struggle. I did my other show, the Atomic Drop podcast, once, and it was a struggle. So I figured, you know what, I need to take a little bit of time off, kind of heal up a little bit. I still got a little bit of a scratchy throat, but I feel much, much better. Things are coming out more clear, and I don't need to take constant breaks. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and kick it off here. And to start off with some Raiders moves and rumors. It's like I said, it's been a while since I've been on. I have some notes written down. So this is going to be probably, if you're a Raiders fan, this is probably old news to you. If you're just a casual fan, you like watching me ramble on and talk about nonsense, you don't know what the hell's going on with the Raiders. So you're like, oh, this is new news. So we'll go over it anyway. So recently, or a few weeks ago, the Raiders re-signed Adam Butler and John Jenkins, both defensive tackles. Huge signings, in my opinion, really good signings. John Jenkins, a force in the middle, stopping the run. And Adam Butler, a pretty decent pass rush up the middle from the defensive tackle position. So it's a big moves there. I in my opinion, to match up with Christian Wilkins, in the middle there. It's and adds some depth. Last season we drafted Byron Young and Nesta Jade Silvera. So I feel like our depth is looking pretty decent. Still could use a pretty good playmaker there. So in the draft, I wouldn't be too surprised if the Raiders went ahead and did draft a defensive tackle. That's why it's so weird. It's so hard to predict what they're going to do at 13. Yeah, they need a quarterback. They need an offensive tackle. They need cornerback help. And there's a lot of really good quarterbacks, cornerbacks, and defensive or offensive tackles. Offensive tackle wise, it's a pretty deep draft for the offensive tackles. Or at least that's what the experts have been telling me, so I believe them. Cornerbacks, I don't think as deep, but there's still some pretty decent talent there. If you wait the second round, maybe you can get a really good cornerback. Defensive tackle wise, I don't think it's very deep, but there's a chance that somebody like Byron Murphy or Brian Murphy from Texas. There's a chance that he could always drop down to us at 13 or whatever. And if he's there, and the quarterback that we really want, Jaden Daniels, we didn't get a chance to move up for him for whatever reason. Deal wasn't there to be made or whatever. Do we take a quarterback at 13? Maybe a guy that we're not crazy about, but we need to take a quarterback. Do we take one of those guys, or do we see that defensive tackle sitting there it could really help solidify the middle of that defense and, could be a playmaker right off the bat. We thought that about Tyree Wilson a little bit last season, but never really came to fruition with him coming into camp injured and, just starting off really slow. I felt like he did really come on stronger by the end of the season, though. So do we go defensive tackle? Offensive tackle, if there's a top 5, top 10 offensive tackle still sitting there at 13, do we go with the offensive tackle? Do we just go best player available if we're not going to go quarterback? I don't know. So many different scenarios with the draft, and especially pick 13. It's kind of like in a no man's land almost, and that's something I'll dive into a little bit more in the next probably about 2 weeks as it gets closer to the draft. Because there's no sense in talking about it right now because it just changes every day. Like thoughts and mindsets, and expert opinions, and mock draft crap. It's always changing. It's always revolving and rotating, and going left and right, and up and down. So I think we'll probably end up. I'll probably do a Raiders mock draft in 2 weeks. I think the draft is the end of April, so 2 weeks will put us like the week before. So this sounds like a plan. All right, ready? Break. There we go. We got a plan. I got a couple comments here. We got Eileen. What's up, Eileen? She says hello. Hello. Yes, a little bit of a screech there out of me. And she says it's Friday. What's up? Love Friday. And it's WrestleMania weekend, brother. So there we go. So we're gonna have speaking of that real quick, join us tonight. We'll be doing a WrestleMania pre-show and predictions on the Atomic Drop podcast. Myself, I believe Paul Spencer, I think Eddie Prather, Cowboy Dave will be at SmackDown tonight in the Hall of Fame, so he will not be on with us tonight. But I do have his picks, and let me tell you, they're all crap. So I'm just teasing. Pretty good picks. But anyway, and also throughout the weekend, we'll be doing WrestleMania post shows. I'm hoping for Saturday night. Our boy Adam Glenn will be joining us, hopefully, and we'll get him into the mix here for Saturday night WrestleMania post show, and see what his thoughts are on his favorite wrestler, The Rock. All right, so the Raiders, like I said, re-signed Butler, Jenkins. So last season, Jenkins started 17 games, had a career high in tackles at 61. Tackles for loss, 4 sacks. He had 1 sack last season. Also did score a touchdown. And that touchdown was created by an Adam Butler sack. So Adam Butler had 28 tackles last year, 8 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, and 9 quarterback hits. Like I said, Butler, I was really impressed with Butler last season. He's a big John. He's just, like I said, he's a force. But I was really impressed with Adam Butler last season. Him getting off the ball, getting upfield, forcing the quarterback out of the pocket, either towards Max or towards Malcolm Kuntz. Really, that whole defensive line played very, very, very well. And some guys overperformed, to be honest with you. I don't think anybody really expected Adam Butler or John Jenkins to have the type of season they did last season, as well as Malcolm Kuntz. He kind of came out of nowhere. Tyree Wilson, a lot of people were kind of expecting that. Chandler Jones was still with us at the beginning of last season. Kind of expecting a lot out of him, but just didn't happen because he went crazy. Now it doesn't seem like he's as crazy, so hopefully he catches on somewhere maybe next year. He got all of his shit figured out and he's straightened out, and you never know. Maybe he catches on somewhere and he's good to go. But more, the most important thing is that he's in a good headspace and not acting all nuts and stuff. He was out there a little bit. Excuse me. The Raiders also signed a running back, Alexander Mattison. I have a hard time saying this because I look at it, it's Mattison. I'm like, is it Madison, like Madison? Or is it Mattison? I can't say it. I have a hard time saying it. So I'm just going Mattison. So it's Alexander Mattison to me. 25-year-old running back from Minnesota. Was the main starter last year for most of the season. Didn't quite perform the way that they wanted him. He had 700 yards rushing, over 180 carries, and over 13 games as well. Just didn't pan out for him for whatever reason. Their yards per rush, I believe, were just under 4 yards per rush. I think like a 3.8, maybe somewhere around there. So there's that. I don't know really how I feel about it. I'd really rather Josh Jacobs, but it is what it is. It adds a little bit more depth. We did re-sign Amir Abdullah, so we have Zeus leading the charge this year. And Zamir White, and I'm fine. I like Zeus. I really like him. He's a big, beefy dude. A lot of hillbilly in that lad. If you ever hear him talk at the press conferences, super respectful, like a bit of a twang in his voice there. It's different. It's very different than what you're used to seeing with athletes today. And just the pipes on that lad, holy Christ. Yeah, he got some guns on him. I'll tell you what. So if you're ever curious, check out Zamir White press conference from after the last couple games last season. The dude is jacked. So I'm excited for Zamir White to have, so he gets an opportunity to be a full-time starter. See what we can get out of him for a full season. Like his last few games last season when Josh Jacobs was hurt, he ran the ball very, very well. He was very effective, and hopefully that rolls over into this season with a revamped offensive line, and hopefully we get the right side of that offensive line figured out either through draft or through free agency. So looking at the Raiders' unrestricted free agent list that I've mentioned on here a couple times over previous shows. I'll go through all of our unrestricted free agents at the start of the league year, which ones we signed and which ones have already left and which ones that are not signed yet. Amir Abdullah, we re-signed. Andre James, re-signed. Adam Butler, John Jenkins, we re-signed. Jermaine Ullmanor went to New York Giants. I'm happy for him. He got a decent payday out of it. Should be probably a full-time starter out there instead of a swing man here like he was here in Vegas. He did a great job. I get my hats off to Jermaine. I love his attitude. Never really gave up on it. Never went sour. Never went, never really went negative at all. Just kept working. Dude worked his ass off, and I felt like he turned into a very good tackle. So good for him. That's one guy I was really hoping the Raiders would pick up either as a starter or for depth. Austin Hooper's with the Patriots. Josh Jacobs went to Green Bay, of course. Bilal Nichols signed with Arizona Cardinals. I really like Bilal Nichols because I enjoy saying his name. Bilal, what's up, Bilal? I love that name. If I had another boy, well, not me, if my wife had another kid, my wife would bear the child, of course. I'd really push for Bilal Fry. I don't know what his middle name would be, but Bilal would be the first name. Bilal. I love it. It's just a cool name to say. Meek Robertson went to Detroit. Bummer to lose him, but happy for him. He's able to cash in from having a solid season last year with the silver and black. So Brandon Bolden, I haven't heard anything about if he went anywhere. Curtis Bolton, he appears to be a free agent yet. DeAndre Carter as well, wide receiver. Hronis Grasnu still out there. Jesper Horsted, Jakob Johnson. A couple people were released. Jerry Tillery, he's in Minnesota. I haven't heard anything on Hunter Renfrow yet. Jimmy Garoppolo signed with the Rams, and I have not heard anything about Brian Hoyer. Hopefully Brian Hoyer retired. Brian Hoyer, just go be like a quarterback coach at some small college, Brian Hoyer. Brian Hoyer, if you can hear me, go be a quarterback coach at the Christian Academy in like northwestern Montana or something. Don't go do that. Don't play quarterback in the NFL anymore. A couple other free agents. Brandon Parker signed with San Francisco. And as far as I know, Greg Van Routen has not signed anywhere yet. Now, that's one guy I'd kind of hope the Raiders would re-sign, especially if we don't address guard through the draft. So we'll see what happens. I mean, we have Thayer Mumford. He can play guard, tackle. So we'll see what happens there. Plus a couple other offensive linemen. They're more depth pieces, DJ Fluker and stuff. I'm not really sure if they'd be starters. Eileen with the comments, and yay, that's a good treat. Yay, Adam. We'll see if we can get him on for the wrestling show tomorrow night. So for the Raiders, that's all I really have. Oh, for rumor-wise, I'm sorry. So on our out of the box page, sports chat that we have, between all the hosts and stuff like that, and a couple of of our number one fans, Eileen and Adam, are also in the Atomic Drop chat. But anyway, in the out of the box sports post, our boy Paul Spencer, shout out to Paul, did post. I think it was Paul posted something about the Raiders. Now, I don't know if this was just a scenario made up by a fan or by a host of some other show or whatever, or if this was something like a legit rumor. I don't know. But it was something to really think about. So let me pull it up here real quick on my cellular telephone so I don't mess up what the deal was. But it had me a little bit curious, as if that is actually something that could happen. Let's see here. Okay. And this is from JPA Football. For all I know, this could be a satirical page or whatever. I don't know. It says thoughts on this mock trade. So it's just a mock trade. Dak Prescott to the Raiders. Raiders get Dak Prescott, and the Cowboys, who need have no money, but they need a lot of players. They've lost a good amount of top-notch players this season so far, this offseason. The Cowboys would get Aiden O'Connell, a 2024 first, second, and fourth round picks, and a 2025 first and third, and a 2026 second. I think that is way too much for Dak Prescott. Way too much. Dak has had some terrific years, MVP-like seasons. He's also choked a lot. He's also had some really bad years. He's not very trustworthy. But I do think he is, in my opinion, a top 10 quarterback. And, I just think that 2 first rounds is way too much. If you're already giving up 2 first rounds, 2 second rounds, and a third and a fourth, basically over the next 3 seasons, why not just package 3 first rounds together and go draft your quarterback that you actually want in this draft? I just don't. I think if you're going that far with it, just go that extra step and draft your quarterback. Now, if the deal came out, and plus also Aiden O'Connell. Now, if the deal was the Cowboys would get 2024 first round, 2024 third round, 2024 fourth round, 2025 third round, I think I'd be all right with that. That's a decent amount of picks for the Cowboys. The Raiders still have a bunch of their picks left as well. And I do believe Dak is worth a first round. He's not worth multiple first rounds, though. He's still a fairly young quarterback, but he's coming up in a contract season, I believe. So it's going to cost you a lot of money. I just don't think 2 first rounds, in my opinion, would be worth it. Let me know what your thoughts and opinions are on that. If you have any, if you don't, then don't say anything. I would like to know what your thoughts and opinions are. Period. It's on anything, your football team or not. I don't. If you're whatever position your team's picking in, who would you take? So shoot it out there. Shoot a comment out there. So also looking at a little bit more Raider news here. It was just announced, I think last week, the 2024 offseason program dates. Excuse me. I'm trying not to cough in the microphone, but I am anyway. So the offseason program dates for the Raiders for the 2024 season. First day for workouts, April 15th. So what is that? 2 weeks. OTAs, off-season workouts, May 20th to 21st, May 23rd, May 28th, 29th, June 3rd to the 6th, and mandatory minicamp, June 11th to the 13th. So those are your off-season workout days, off-season program dates and stuff like that for the Raiders. And there's a whole bunch of rules, phases like that. I didn't realize I was reading through it earlier, and there's different phases to these. So I'll read you the article actually off of the Raiders app I have. It says dates for all 32 teams were released Friday morning, with the silver and black kicking into gear April 15th, as per Article 21 of the collective bargaining agreement. Each club's official voluntary 9-week offseason program is conducted in 3 phases. I didn't know this. Phase 1 consists of the first 2 weeks of the program, with activities limited to meetings, strength and conditioning, and physical rehab only. Phase 2 consists of the next 3 weeks of the program. On-field workouts may include individual or group instruction and drills, as well as perfect play drills, whatever the hell that means, and drills and plays with offensive players lining up across some offensive players and defensive players lining up across some defensive players, conducted at a walkthrough pace. No live contact or team offense versus team defense drills are permitted. So you can't have like 11v11, 11 offense versus 11 defense. You can't have it. Or you're doing like a 7-on-7 or 3v3. Has to be offense versus offense, defense versus defense. It says phase 3 consists of the next 4 weeks of the program, Teams may conduct a total of 10 days of organized team practice activity or OTAs. All the years, saying OTAs and hearing OTAs, I never knew that's what it meant. Organized team practice activity. So organized team activities, I guess. No live contact is permitted, but 7-on-7, 9-on-7, and 11-on-11 drills are permitted. So then in your phase 3, it sounds to me like you can have your offense versus your defense, but you can't have any contact. And it also says new head coaches are entitled to conduct an additional voluntary veteran minicamp, which must be conducted prior to the NFL draft, April 25th to the 27th, but no earlier than week 3 of the club's offseason workout program, and after at least 1 week of 2 weeks of phase 1 activities that the clubs may hold. The dates for rookie minicamp will also be determined following the 2024 draft. Dates may change at the discretion of the team. Holy cow. There's a lot to that. I guess that's why there's a collective bargaining agreement. So all the lawyers can go over that crap and whatever. So that's a lot in my opinion. All right. So that's all I have for the Raiders today. So I'm going to flip-flop on over to the Kings. And I have a lot to talk about there. Not too much, because it's a lot to get caught up on, basically. So I'll switch it on over to the Kings. Switch my banner. Excuse me. You know what the hell? I'm even going to change the color a little bit. I think we're going to go, what am I? I'm like a silverish, so I'm going to go ahead and go white for the Kings. There we go. All right. So getting caught up with the Kings here. These are games that happened a few weeks ago, and I'll tell you the date of each game. Like I said, I got sick, sore throat. I could not talk. I was constantly hacking and coughing. I just couldn't. There was no way I was going to be able to do a show, but I have notes from the shows. So we'll go ahead and go through these. I'll give you the shortened version of them. Usually I talk about the games. I'll give the game score, who was against, the goals scored, shots, all that other good stuff, per period and stuff. I'm not going to go through all that. I'll give you the game, the outcome, and who scored what goals and the goalie stuff. All right, so back on 3/16. That's how long it's been. 3/16 day. That's the last time I wanted to come on. I just couldn't do it. The Kings were at Dallas, and Dallas absolutely owns us. Dallas is a very, very good team. Stanley Cup favorites, in my opinion, at least out of the West. The Kings lost 4-1. Dallas owns the Kings. Scoring for the Kings in the third period was Kevin Fiala. That's his 22nd of the season, assisted by Pierre-Luc Dubois. In goal that game was David Rittich. He stopped 25 out of 29 shots. So then he went to Tuesday on March 19th. That's against the Chicago Blackhawks. Kings won that game 6-2. Started a nice little roll after this. Scoring for the Kings in that game was Lair, who scored his 11th. Lazat and Pierre-Luc Dubois were assisted on those. Vladislav Gavrikov scored his 5th goal of the season, assisted by Kopitar and Kempe. Kopitar scored his 21st, assisted by Kempe. Kopitar scored again on a power play, his 22nd, assisted by Kempe and Fiala. Denault scored. Philly D scored his 16th of the season, assisted by Moore and Fiala. And then later on, Trevor Lewis scored, assisted by Pierre-Luc Dubois and Gavrikov. And that game was Cam Talbot, stopped 22 out of 24 shots. Then we played versus Minnesota, and this was actually a huge game. I really wanted to talk about this game. Again, I just couldn't do it. Yeah, no voice. I couldn't do it. But it was a huge game against Minnesota. Minnesota was super hot. I think they were 2 or 3 points behind the Kings at this point for the wild card spot. I think for the last wild card spot, perhaps. So they're coming on hot. They were playing very, very good hockey, and I was really worried about this game. Kings end up winning. This is back on March 20th. Kings end up winning 6-0, which was a shock to me. I couldn't believe it. So scoring for the Kings were Philly D again, Philip Denault, assisted by Trevor Moore and Kevin Fiala. Fiala scored a power play goal, his 23rd of the season, assisted by Kopitar and Kempe. Victor Arvidsson scored his 1st goal of the season. He was just back off the injury list, assisted by Mikey Anderson and Drew Doughty. Mikey Anderson was just off the injured list just before that. Matt Roy scored his fourth, assisted by Byfield and Kempe. Jordan Spence scored his second, a power play goal, assisted by Moore and Denault. And Kopitar scored his 23rd of the season, assisted by Drew Doughty and Victor Arvidsson. Rittich was in net there, stopped 31 out of 31. Got another, I think that was his third shutout of the season. I could be wrong. Excuse me. So we go from that tough game against Minnesota to a Saturday game and another tough team, one of the best teams in the East, a team that's pushing for the playoffs, a very good offensive team, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Again, another game that made me nervous. We played Tampa Bay earlier in the season. I think it was back in I want to say it was in January, December or January. I think it was January, and we lost to Tampa Bay 4-3 in overtime. I believe it was. It's a really quick overtime game. I think it was like in the first few seconds of overtime, if I remember correctly. So we played Tampa Bay. I was at home this time, and we come out with the victory 4-3 in overtime. So scoring for the Kings in this game, Kempe scored his 22nd, assisted by Kopitar and Byfield. Trevor Moore scored his 26th, assisted by Pierre-Luc Dubois. Mikey Anderson scored his second, unassisted. Kings were up, I think it was 3-1. Yeah, 3-1 at that point. And then it was the Stamkos show for the Lightning. He scored back-to-back goals for the Lightning late in the game. One was a power play, and the other one was a 6-on-5 with the goalie pulled, and it's like a power play. And they were all over us. And it was rough. And I remember this game vividly. I remember watching this game, being really annoyed, irritated that we blew that lead so late in the game. After playing so well against the Lightning, goes to overtime, and on the ice were, I think it was Kopitar, Kempe, and Gavrikov for your 3v3 overtime period. And Gavrikov, the Kings won the face-off. Gavrikov had the puck back in our defensive zone, kind of skating around with it, setting up the play or whatever you want to call it, setting up the push. Skating around the Lightning. And I don't remember if it was who it was. I don't remember if it was Stamkos or not, or who exactly it was kind of putting pressure on Gavrikov. He's kind of weaving back and forth, and just kind of biding his time. Well, then he passes it up to, I think he passes it up to Kempe. And he Gavrikov takes off up the ice, full speed. Whoever was covering was a little bit behind, but he takes off full speed up the ice, and Kempe hits him with a perfect pass in stride, breakaway, beautiful. I think it was a beautiful deke. I think he went right then left and scored on the short side of the net, if I remember correctly. It was a beautiful job by Gavrikov. Like I said, he was assisted by Kempe and Kopitar. So the pass went from Gavrikov to Kopitar to Kempe, I believe. So in the net that night was Cam Talbot, stopped 22 out of 24. And so then moving forward from that, so two back-to-back beautiful wins there. Tough games. Like I said, the Wild were pushing for playoffs. The Lightning are in the playoffs, basically, pushing for seeding and stuff like that. Two really good teams there. Moving on to Vancouver. In Vancouver, another team, basically the top of the West the whole season. I don't know if we can get, 3 wins in a row. We're on that's the start of our Canadian road trip, Western Canadian road trip. So, the Kings have handled Vancouver fairly well this season. So with this game, like I said, in Vancouver, the Kings come out with a win. That's back on March 25th. And a huge win for the Kings. They played very good. I know Vancouver was really pissy after the game. I'm not sure who it was, but I don't remember like exactly word for word what his comment was, but basically saying if you don't like hockey, then watch the Kings play, because the Kings play a 1-3-1 defensive setup where you have one skater. I believe this is how it works. I could be wrong. You have one skater basically pressuring the other team in their defensive zone. Then you have our 3 players on our defensive blue line. Then you have one player like a kind of neutral zone onto the blue line. Then you have our last line of defense, one player back by the goal. So as the other team's trying to skate up and trying to for a push or set something up, you have those three guys in the neutral zone or in the blue line, breaking things up or just getting in zones or in lanes. Really frustrating Vancouver. That's why I think the Canucks are playing so well, or the Kings play so well against Canucks. Why the Canucks struggle with the Kings? They just can't handle the 1-3-1. So that seems to be the sentiment. It's not a fun style of hockey to watch. I mean, I watch Kings games. I enjoy watching them. So I don't know. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. I do know watching other teams play sometimes it seems like there is a lot more open offense. But it is what it is. You can't beat it. You can't beat it. Excuse me. So scoring goals for the Kings in this game, Kevin Fiala scored a goal. Kopitar had a goal and assist. Blake Lozada also had a goal. Victor Arvidsson had an assist. Byfield had an assist. Pierre-Luc Dubois also had an assist. And as well as Adrian Kempe and Jordan Spence also had assists. In between the pipes were Cam Talbot. He stopped 21 out of 23 shots. So let me move ahead on our Canadian road trip to Edmonton. And Edmonton absolutely owns us right now. From the last two seasons in the playoffs to the regular season to this year's regular season, I dread Edmonton. And that's not good. That's not good at all. So we lost to Edmonton at Edmonton 4-1. And it didn't even feel that close. Arthur Kaliev, he ends up scoring in the third period, assisted by Quentin Byfield. Cam Talbot was in the net that day that night for the Kings. Stopped 16 out of 19 shots. The Kings outshot the Oilers. I believe, if I remember, it was a super physical game. I think the Oilers might have had 40 some hits. The Kings had 30 plus hits. It was a really physical game. Really tough loss. So then we go to Calgary, hoping to bounce back from that. And Calgary beat the pants off of us, beat the absolute crap out of us. Probably the worst game the Kings have played all season. So that was a loss in Calgary, 4-2. Kempe scored a power play goal. He also had an assist. Kopitar scored a power play goal as well. Drew Doughty had an assist. Fiala had 2 assists. David Rittich was in net. Stopped 31 out of 35 shots. The Kings were outshot in that game 35-18. And they also gave up 3 power play goals out of 6 tries. Terrible. Our penalty kill is one of our most consistent assets, parts of our game. One of our most consistent parts of our game all season. And it was shit against Calgary. It's been crappy, probably for the last week and a half. Excuse me. All right. So now, finally moving ahead here, I could talk about games that are recent from this past week. Now that we're all caught up on Kings news, I got a comment here. Eileen says, "Did you feel the earthquake, Kenny?" I don't know. Are we talking about the professional wrestler? And no, I did not ever feel earthquake. I'm not really sure 100% what you mean by that. And I do not want to feel earthquake either. I'm not sure if earthquake's alive or not. She says, just now, actual earthquake. Or is that earthquake? Artquake? Or quacky? 4.8 in Lebanon, New Jersey. No, I did not feel anything. I'm sitting here talking about Kings and Raiders. I mean, I'm not sure how far away Lebanon, New Jersey is from me. So we got breaking news here on the Silver and Black Lair. There was an earthquake in Lebanon, New Jersey. Now that you know. Maps, let me see here. Google Maps, Lebanon, New Jersey. That is an hour and a half away. So, no, I didn't feel anything. That's not, me. I'm sitting here rocking in a rocking chair too. So I might have felt a tremor, but didn't really think anything of it. I don't know. That's amazing. That really is amazing. That that's just something that doesn't happen. It just shook the house. Wow. Huh. Is there anything on the news about it, Eileen? Are there reportings of it, or Let me see. You know what? The Facebook, you usually might have something on it. No. Huh. That's crazy. Yeah, I didn't feel anything, and I'm curious. I'm gonna. If anybody out there that's watching now is from the area, if you felt anything, go ahead and put that out there. Uh, I'm gonna go ahead and put it on the Facebook while I'm live streaming. I'm multitasking now as I talk. I'm not doing a very good job of multitasking because I'm just going silent here. It's dead air. That's not good. It's not good. So anyway, back to the Kings here, so I can get some sort of see if anybody in my neck of the woods have felt anything. She said just happened. Wow, that's crazy. Is that northern New Jersey or southern? I just looked to see how far away it was. I didn't look to see where it was in New Jersey. It just says an hour and a half. So I have to figure that's probably maybe is that central New Jersey. If it's an hour and a half, that's just outside Allentown, maybe. Huh. All right. So back on Monday this past week, on April Fool's Day, the Kings played against Winnipeg to wrap up their absolutely dreaded Canadian swing here. The last time in the season, last time this season, they'll have to leave the state of California. They're in Winnipeg, and the Jets, I feel like, have done a very good job against the Kings this year. I think the first meeting between the two teams, Kings were able to beat the Jets. Then I think the next couple, the Jets beat the Kings, or something like that. Or I don't know. It might have been a season split too, a 2v2, but I'm not really sure. I just know the last couple games that the Jets kind of owned us. So in the first period, the Kings lose this game 4-3. First period, Perfetti scored for the Jets, his 16th of the season. Then Victor Arvidsson scored for the Kings, his second of the year, assisted by Trevor Moore and Drew Doughty. The second period, Kevin Fiala scored, his 25th of the season, assisted by Gavrikov. I made it 2-1 LA. Then Monahan scored for Winnipeg, his 24th of the season, made it 2-2. Also in the second period, Anze Kopitar scored his 26th of the season, assisted by Adrian Kempe and Vladislav Gavrikov. And then Morrissey comes right back for Winnipeg with his 9th goal of the season, made it 3-3 after 2. Then in the third period, unfortunately, the Jets were able to score. Perfetti again gets his second goal of the game, his 17th of the season. That made it 4-3 Jets, and that was your final. Actually, it was a really good game, back and forth. It's an exciting game. Winnipeg's a very good team, and the reason the game's so volatile, it's just the trade that happened. We got Pierre-Luc Dubois from them, and we sent Iafallo. What the hell's the other lad's name? I gave Velarde a big. I really like Gabe Velarde and Iafallo, and we also sent I think Rasmus Kupari there as well. But Iafallo and Velarde are the two big names, and I know Velarde really had some issue with the Kings. He was kind of pissed off that he was traded away. Then early in the season, there was a hit, I think, by Blake Lizotte that Velarde felt like was a cheap shot. I think it might have knocked him out a couple of games as well. So he was pissed off about that. And there were some words. And, ever since then, I feel like the Jets have had the Kings number. So looking at some stats, Cam Talbot was in net. He stopped 28 out of 32 shots. We got a comment here from Paul Spencer. What's up, Paul? He says, earthquake in the Northeast, and I bet snow. Today, insane. Damn, Mets win a game, and look what happened. Yeah, the Mets win a game yesterday. And it's snowing out there in Western Pennsylvania, and there's earthquakes in New Jersey. Unbelievable. Cam Talbot was in net, stopped 28 out of 32 shots. Overall shots went to Winnipeg, 32-28. Winnipeg also had more hits than the Kings, 39-32. Faceoffs also went to Winnipeg, 32-20. The Kings were able to. There was only one penalty in the whole game. The Kings were able to kill that. I think I think that the penalty. I think the Jets scored right after the penalty was over. Like it was a couple seconds after penalty was over, but I could be wrong about that. The Kings didn't have any penalty, didn't have any power plays, so 0 for 0. But like I said, 100% on the penalty kill, so that's good. Blocked shots went to Winnipeg as well, 17-13. So yeah, so we end our Western Canadian swing here, going 1-3. Not very good, losing 3 in a row, losing ground. People are gaining on us in the playoff race. Things are not good, but the rest of the way, the Kings have a very favorable schedule, and that takes us to Wednesday, this past Wednesday, the 3rd, against the Seattle Kraken. The Kings win that game 5-2. First period, Adrian Kempe scores his 24th of the season, a power play goal, assisted by Victor Arvidsson and Kevin Fiala. Second period, Trevor Moore scored his 27th of the season, assisted by Matt Roy and Pierre-Luc Dubois. He also scores again in the second period, made it 3-0. He's 28th of the season, assisted by Pierre-Luc Dubois and Victor Arvidsson. In the third period, Seattle comes back. Burakovsky scores his 6th goal of the season, a power play goal. That made it 3-1. Then Fiala scores, made it 4-1 with his 26th of the season, assisted by Blake Lizotte. But then the Seattle comes back. They're hanging around. Dumoulin scores his 5th of the season, made it 4-2. But then Trevor Moore gets his hat trick in the third period, his 29th of the season, and puts the game away, assisted by Pierre-Luc Dubois. Cam Talbot was in net, stopped 21 out of 23 shots. Looking at the team stats here, Kings won the shot battle, 27-23. Seattle had more hits, 27-16. Faceoffs went to Seattle, 25-23. Kings were 1 for 3 on the power play and 1 for 4 on the penalty kill, so that's good there. Block shots went to the Kings, 17-14. So it was a back-to-back, so we played Wednesday, then we also played Thursday night. I guess that'd be last night. Where the hell is it? There it is. I covered it up. Sorry. Against San Jose, the Kings come out of that a winner in San Jose, 2-1. Scoring for the Kings in the first period, Adrian Kempe scores his 25th of the season, unassisted. Keel Thomas gets his first NHL goal and his first goal of the season, assisted by Jordan Spence and Pierre-Luc Dubois. Nothing happened in the second period. Then in the third period, the Sharks finally get one in. Kostin scored his 8th goal of the season, and that was pretty much it. There was the Sharks really, you never really felt threatened by the Sharks. They did put a little bit of pressure on, but shots were not getting through. The Kings were blocking a lot of shots, sticks in lanes and zones and stuff. So Kings defense did really, really good that last night against the Sharks, just really limiting them to any kind of pressure, any kind of opportunity or chance. Just really, really nailed them down. So looking at stats, Rittich was in goal last night, stopped 15 out of 16 shots. Kings won the shot battle, 27-16. Hits went to San Jose, 16-8, so it wasn't an overly physical game. Faceoffs went to LA, 25-24. The Kings were perfect on the penalty kill, 3 for 3. But they were 0 for 4 in the power play. So there's that. Block shots went to San Jose, 13-9. So from this past week, I got my 3 stars of the week. Here I am doing all this. I'm not changing the banners here. 3 stars of the week for this week. Third star, I have Adrian Kempe, 2 goals and 2 assists for 4 points, a plus-minus rating of 0. Second star goes to Pierre-Luc Dubois, who seems to be really playing very, very good the last week or two. Pierre-Luc Dubois had 4 assists and a +3 rating, which is huge for him. And your number 1 star from this past week, Trevor Moore, who had the hat trick and also had an assist. He had 4 points for, he had overall 4 points and a plus-minus rating of +2. So we go ahead and move ahead to our standings. Let me take a sip of iced tea here for the working man. All right. So looking at standings in the Pacific Division, you have Vancouver, who did clinch a playoff spot. They have 76 games played. They're sitting at 47 wins, 21 losses, 8 overtime losses for a total of 102 points. They're sitting 7 points ahead of Edmonton for the number one spot in the Pacific. Edmonton has 74 games played, so they have 2 games in hand. They have 2 more games to play than Vancouver, so that really benefits Edmonton. They're sitting at 45 wins, 24 losses, 5 overtime losses, and 95 points. Then we have the Vegas Golden Knights, 75 games played, 42 wins, 25 losses, 8 overtime losses, 92 points. And they have a game in hand on LA right now. LA sitting at 76 games played, 40 wins, 25 losses, 11 overtime losses, and 91 points. So the Kings are sitting behind, 1 point behind Vegas Golden Knights right now for that number 3 seed automatic playoff bid in the Pacific Division. Looking at the Western Conference overall, you have Dallas sitting in the number 1 seed right now in the West. Like I said, Dallas, very good team, very hot right now. 48 wins, 19 losses, 9 overtime losses, 105 points. And you have Vancouver sitting right behind them. Vancouver was the number 1 seed all season until recently. You know, they kind of stumbling a little bit. 47 wins, 21 losses, 8 overtime losses, 102 points. Colorado sitting right behind them with 48 wins, 22 losses, 6 overtime losses, 102 points. Then you have the Winnipeg Jets, 46 wins, 24 losses, 6 overtime losses, and 98 points. All 4 of those teams have clinched playoff berths. So 5th in the West right now is the Edmonton Oilers with 45 wins, 24 losses, 5 overtime losses, 95 points. Then you have the Vegas Golden Knights, 42 wins, 25 losses, 8 overtime losses, 92 points. Then the Nashville Predators, your number 1 wild card team right now, sitting there with 44 wins, 28 losses, 4 overtime losses, and 92 points. And your final wild card spot right now belongs to the Kings, who are 40, 25, and 11, 91 points, sitting 1 point behind both Vegas and Nashville. So that could lead to a whole bunch of different, scenarios and who are they going to play type of things. So seeding is very important. And just sit on the outside looking in right now is St. Louis. They're at 40, 32, and 4, 84 points. So they're sitting 7 points right now behind the Kings. And Minnesota's pretty much basically out of it now, kind of stumbling since they got hot. They're sitting at 36, 29, and 10, and 81 points. So you pretty much just count Minnesota out. It's St. Louis, 7 points behind the Kings. They're the only ones that really have a chance to get back in it. I just don't see it happening. Excuse me. So if the playoffs were to start today, you'd have your number 1 seed Dallas versus the final wild card team, the LA Kings. Your number 2 seed Vancouver versus the first wild card team, Nashville Predators. Then you'd have Colorado versus Winnipeg, your 2 and 3 teams from the Central Division, and Edmonton versus the Vegas Golden Knights, your 2-3 teams from the Western Division. So now, if the Kings were to, let's say, jump up and get past Vegas Golden Knights, they become the 3 seed. Then it'd be Edmonton versus the Kings, and that could mean the Vegas Golden Knights, they get the first wild card, and the Nashville Predators get the final wild card. That change the matchups. You'd have Dallas versus Nashville. You'd have Vancouver versus Vegas. So a lot of different things can happen still. Edmonton, there's still a chance that they can push up, to a 2 seed. They could possibly pass out Vancouver, sitting 7 points behind. But with those 2 games in hand, if you look at it, they could be potentially just only 3 points behind. So if Vancouver continues to stumble, Edmonton continues playing well, you never know what could happen. And even that being said, the Golden Knights, they're playing better right now. They're only 3 points behind Edmonton. So who knows? They could always leapfrog Edmonton. Edmonton stumbles a little bit. Then you have, the Kings maybe leapfrog them. They end up in the wild card. A bunch of different scenarios that could happen. The most likely scenario, I think, in my opinion, is the Kings get the final wild card spot and they end up playing Dallas in the start of the playoffs, which is not ideal for the Kings. So, but we'll see what happens. Let it play out. So coming up next for the Kings, we just talked about the playoff race. I forgot to switch it here. Coming up next, we have Saturday versus Vancouver, a big game there. And Tuesday at Anaheim. And then Thursday, We got the vaunted Calgary Flames. A little bit of payback coming for those Flames for beating our asses. Then after that, we have the Ducks, Wild, and finish up with the Blackhawks. So overall, we have 6 games left in the season. Ducks twice, Vancouver, Calgary, Minnesota, and Chicago. So we're sitting in a pretty good spot here. At the very least for a playoff berth, sitting 7 points already ahead of St. Louis. And then, some of these games are games that they should absolutely win. All right, so a quick rundown of the stats here. Kempe leading the way, actually tied with Fiala. Kempe has 25 goals, 43 assists. He leads the team in assists for 68 points and a plus-minus rating of 13. Fiala is sitting 26 goals, 42 assists, 68 points, plus 2. Andrei Kopitar has been playing lights out recently. 26 goals, 40 assists, 66 points, plus 11. Trevor Moore, 29 goals. He leads the team in goals. 29 goals, 24 assists, 53 points, plus 12. Quentin Byfield, 19 goals. He's kind of quieted it down, especially in the goal department recently. So hopefully he gets that 1 goal just to get into the 20s. So he has 19 goals, 34 assists, 53 points, a plus 19. He's tied for the team lead in plus-minus ratings. Drew Doughty, 14 goals, 32 points, 32 assists, 46 points, plus 15. I hope Drew gets that 1 more to get 15. Nice round numbers there. Philly D, who's out hurt right now. We're missing him terribly. He has 17 goals, 25 assists, 42 points, plus 13. Pierre-Luc Dubois, 15 goals, 24 assists, 39 points. He's at a minus 9. That's a lot, but for the most part of the season, he's been like minus 15, 16, 17 the whole season. So he's been playing much, much better recently. Matt Roy, 4 goals, 19 assists, 23 points for a plus 18. And Mikey Anderson, 2 goals, 15 assists, 17 points, but a plus 19. Those are a couple of defensemen playing very good. Looking at our goalies, Cam Talbot, 24 wins, 18 losses, 6 overtime losses, a 2.47 goals against, and a 9.15 save percentage. David Rittich, 12 wins, 6 losses, 3 overtime losses, a 2.21 goals against, and a 9.19 save percentage. Great job by both goalies. So looking at some team rankings here, goals for per game. The Kings are currently ranked 16th with 3.08 goals scored per game. Goals against per game. It's really shows you what kind of defense the Kings have. They're 3rd in the league right now with 2.57 goals against. Power play 13th, which is kind of where it's been most of the season. We like anywhere from like 13 to 17. Sitting at 22.1% on the power play. The penalty kill, which has been one or 2 the whole season. It's been 1 for a while, but now we dropped to 2. In the league, our penalty kill sitting at 84.6%, sitting a couple percentage points behind the Carolina Hurricane. Whew! That was a lot. All right. So that's all I have on the Kings as well. Like I said, 6 games left. A lot to be decided yet. Kings are starting to play really good hockey. After that, getting our asses kicked there in Canada. So next game against Vancouver. Hopefully we stay hot against Vancouver. And then Anaheim. The Ducks play us tough. It's a rivalry game. For as bad as the Ducks are, they play very good against the Kings. They play up a little bit. They're hyped for it. They play tough, physical. There's usually a couple fights during that game as well. So I'd be looking for that. I'll maybe see LaFerriere get into a fight. Seems like he fights a lot. And then Calgary. That's a nice revenge game, if you ask me, next Thursday. Kind of get a little bit of payback. Calgary just kicking the pants off of us in Calgary just last week. I think it was a 4-2, but it wasn't even that close. So a couple big games coming up, and then we finish the season off, like I said, with the Ducks, the Wild, and the Blackhawks. Ducks and the Blackhawks, 2 of the worst teams in the league. The Wild were hot, cooled down considerably since the Kings beat them 6-0. So they have nothing to really play for either. So hopefully the Kings come out and show them, start your playoff run now. Start playing like playoff hockey right now, and continue that into the playoffs and hope for the best. If it's against Dallas, hope for the best. I'd rather see Vancouver since the Kings have played so well against Vancouver. I'd even rather see Edmonton because I really want to get that monkey off our back. But they've had our number all season and as well as the playoffs. So we do have a couple wins against Edmonton this year, but none of them felt very good, except for the one that I think we beat them 4-0 coming back from the All-Star break. It was Jim Hiller's first game as the interim head coach, and I believe we shut him out 4-0. That one felt pretty good, but they had a ton of opportunities in that game. I remember watching that, and it was still kind of iffy. So before I get out of here, I'm going to do a couple sponsor reads, and I'm going to get the heck out of here and head off to bed before we do the Atomic Drop podcast tonight. Jason Fine, attorney Big Al. See, my voice is coming back. I can do a whole Big Al spiel now. You reach Big Al at 1-800-HURT-123. That's 1-800-HURT-123. Jason Fine specializes in motor vehicle accidents, slip and falls, workman's comp, and personal injury claims. He has 3 office locations conveniently located throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey. In Cherry Hill, New Jersey, the offices are located on 3 Greensward Lane. The phone number there is 856-209-5258. And in the steel city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. His offices are located at 500 Grant Street, Suite 2900. The phone number there is 412-365-8151. And in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the offices are located at 1628 JFK Boulevard, Suite 2120. The phone number there is 267-888-2980. Jason Fine, attorney Big Al. Once you get all your legal stuff taken care of, head on over to monkeycoltcoffee.com. Get all your gourmet coffee needs fulfilled at monkeycoltcoffee.com. They have bourbon, chocolate chip infused coffee, toasted coconut rum. They have a Sumatran blend, which is a medium roast coffee, very good. They have an organic blend called Peru La Florida as well. One of their newest flavors, Golden Honey Agave, is very good. It's a very good coffee. They're also selling barrel-aged honey as well at monkeycoltcoffee.com. Be sure to go into their swag shop and check that out as well. They have T-shirts for sale, coffee mugs, tumbler mugs, excuse me, cold brew pitchers. The cold brew pitcher is awesome, super easy to use, and if you like iced coffee or cold brew coffee, that's the way to go. They also have K-Cup adapters, and don't forget that Paradise Rum Cake, delicious. And be sure at checkout, use that promo code OOTB Sports for 10% off your order. That promo code, once again, is OOTB Sports for 10% off your order at monkeycoltcoffee.com. There it is. All right. So like I said earlier, be sure to check us out tonight, Atomic Drop Podcast, 10:30 p.m. It's going to be our WrestleMania predictions, pre-show talk, all that good stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. And, of course, Saturday night, a half hour after WrestleMania is over, tune into the post-show. Sunday night, half hour after WrestleMania is over, night 2, tune into Atomic Drop Podcast for the post-show of that one as well, for reactions and all that good stuff. Tomorrow night, Saturday, hoping to have Adam Glenn on. He's been a big fan of all of our shows since day one. So we'll have him on and see what Adam got to say about his favorite wrestler, The Rock. I don't think he's a Rock fan. That's why I'm saying that, just to tease him a little bit. All right, so that's all I have for today. Thank you, everybody, for checking the show out. And thank you, everybody, for commenting. We're up to 103 live views right now, live viewers. I appreciate it very much. It means a lot. Everybody out there commenting, much appreciated as well. Don't be afraid to comment next time. You throw your comments out there. I shout out everybody. I put everybody's comments up, and we talk about whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. On topic, off topic. It's out of the box, baby. All right. I'm out of here now. I'll see you guys tonight. Check it out. If not, I'll see you next Friday for the next episode of the Silver and Black Lair. Go Kings, go, and just win, baby.